everyone, and welcome to another episode of Standing 8. I'm Paul Fitzgerald, and I'm joined by my co-host, three-time world champion and Boxing Hall of Famer Jeff Fennick.
Great to be here.
And the voice of Australian boxing, Ben Damon.
Thank you very much, Paul. Good to see you up there in Kingscliff again alongside Andrew Moloney, who is going back to Vegas to try and win back his version of the world title, and it's fantastic to have him on the show. Andrew, how have you been, mate, since that last trip to Vegas? Must have been fantastic to get back home, but what's the preparation been like for this rematch?
G'day, guys. Thanks for having me on, firstly. I've been really well, Ben. Training really hard at the moment and more motivated than ever before to get my world title back and to prove a lot of people wrong that have written me off after that last performance and show that I'm much better than that and get revenge and beat Joshua Franco in this rematch.
We spoke to your brother and he mentioned that his loss, the one loss that he's had against Emmanuel Rodriguez, was essentially the loss that he needed to have. Is there any part of you that thinks that to renew your focus, you needed to have that loss against Joshua Franco?
Yeah, I don't know if it was focus or what it was, but I feel like it's lit a fire inside of me and I'm extremely hungry and motivated and want that title back more than anything at the moment. And I'm training really well in the gym. I'm extremely hungry, extremely focused. And yeah, as I said, I feel like it's lit a fire inside of me and I can't wait to get revenge. What
do you think you learnt from that loss against Franco?
I think it probably just showed some bad habits that I had in my game and exposed those, and I've been working at the moment to get rid of those mistakes and to make sure that I don't make them again in my career and I improve as a fighter, and I feel like I've done that. I feel like I'm boxing really well at the moment and I look forward to showing that in this fight.
So Andrew, I mean, it was a tough fight. I mean, we all sometimes don't perform the best that we want to. What have you done this time to change, and what do you think you done wrong in that fight? I'm sure you've watched it many times now.
Yeah, I've watched it many times, and I didn't perform on the night. That's what it was, and I think I went into that fight a little bit confused about how I wanted to box that fight, and got sort of caught in two minds, and probably second guessed myself and my ability, and made a few mistakes. And we're correcting those at the moment in the gym, and I've got a very clear vision of how I want to box going forward and in this rematch. And I think it has forced me to improve a lot in the gym and fix mistakes that I was making and have made my whole career. And now I've fixed those, and I feel like I've improved as a fighter already, and I'm going to continue to improve in the lead up to this fight and make sure that this is the best performance of my career.
So maybe it was like your brother Jason said, sometimes, although nobody loves to lose, but sometimes when you have a loss, you go back, you reevaluate and think, wow, maybe not, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Maybe I just need to improve on a couple of areas. And I think, like I said, I watched the fight. It was so close, and every fight you guys are in are so entertaining. But what do you think that you really have to change to make you successful in this next fight? Is it your work rate? Is it what do you think? What do you think you need to do?
I thought that I was sort of caught in two minds about how I wanted to box, and I was sort of caught between wanting to outbox Franco and whether to fight him, and ended up sort of standing still in moments and giving him an opportunity to basically attack and to let his punches go on me. And that's one thing that he is good at. If you stand in front of him, he'll put his punches together really well and he'll unload on you. And I sat there at moments and gave him the opportunity to do that, and I won't be doing that again. And that was just a bad habit that I had in my game, and I hadn't been forced to correct that because I was getting away with it. But I've corrected that now and still working on making sure that I don't sit there and give them the opportunity to do their work. I'll fight when I want to fight, and if I want to dictate the pace and take a breather, I can move off, but just I can't be afford to sit in front of him.
Andrew, it was a very tough fight. You took a lot of damage. How badly hurt were you after that fight?
Yeah, it was. It was a tough night at the office. I perforated both eardrums, had a broken nose, had a cut inside my mouth and over my eye that both needed stitches. And yeah, I was certainly pretty sore the next day. And that's given me the motivation, like sitting in the hospital that night. that's something that I never want to do again. And I'm going to go in there and make sure that that doesn't happen. And, you know, I've got to not sit there and try and outbox him or try and be too pretty about it. It's a fight, and I've got to go out there and really put it on him this time.
What about sitting on the plane 48 or so hours later with 2 perforated eardrums? How was that?
It was actually okay, to be honest, Ben, because the thing is the pressure doesn't build up in your ears because there's already a hole there. So I was probably more comfortable than the rest of the people on the plane.
Well, I'll have to look into that next time.
Dr. Andrew?
Yeah.
We asked your brother the same question, but what was it like fighting in front of no crowd there at the MGM Grand?
It really wasn't much different at all. The only difference was walking out to the ring. That felt quite strange. But once you were in between those ropes and the fight started, it was no different to any other fight. Just you and him in there, and you're giving it everything you got. You're in a fight, and I was in a hard one too. So you're not worrying about what's going on outside the ring.
Yeah, sure.
You don't think that or the occasion itself got to you, fighting over there in the US on this big show with no crowd and having gone through the process? Did you take anything out of that into your performance? Do you think there was a negative?
No, I don't think so. I think I was just going through a bad patch in my career, to be honest. Even the lead up to the fight, I wasn't sparring as good as I have in the past, and certainly not as good as I am now. I think I was just a little bit confused about how I wanted to box and what my style was, and just had a bad performance and just didn't put together on the night. But I feel like I've improved a lot since that fight already. Last
time around, you fought a couple of days ahead of Jason. This time, it looks likely that you'll fight a couple of weeks after him. A little bit of a different preparation, but maybe that'll suit you more, being over there and acclimatising and watching him in action beforehand. Yeah, there won't be the pressure that Jason had, I suppose, of fighting 2 days after me, and like we have a lot of our professional career fought on the same night. There is added pressure and nerves watching your brother fight before yourself, and you use energy in doing so. But this time we've got 2 weeks in between both of our fights, so that'll be perfect. I'll go over to Vegas with Jason, so I'll be there at least 6.5 weeks before my fight, which will give me plenty of time to get some great sparring in and acclimatise to the weather and the time zone.
When you got home, how was it? How were the people? You know, it's a funny thing when you win, everybody's around you and stuff like that. I learnt once I lost, it was like a little different. The crowds weren't the same. The people weren't the same. How was it when you got back home, mate?
Well, it was right in the middle of the sort of pandemic, so no one really could catch up with anyone anyway. So
all right, you were lucky.
I don't know if that was the reason why no one was hanging around me, but yeah, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. But I was just rapt to be home and see my family. I was away for 9 weeks from my son. He turned 1 the day I got out of hotel quarantine was his birthday, so it was great to see them. Yeah, how did the family react to watching you when you've been so dominant throughout your career and won all these fights in such a devastating fashion, to then watch you lose and to take that sort of damage? How was the reaction to that? Yeah, they were heartbroken that they couldn't be there to be there for me. It was the first loss of my professional career, and it was obviously a very hard pill to swallow, and they weren't there to sort of, you know, pat me on the back and give me a hug. And I suppose it made it worse that I got rushed off to hospital and they couldn't get on to me and didn't know if I was okay. So certainly something I don't want to put them through again.
Does it make you more hungry now? You've been a world champion. Obviously that was taken away from you in your last fight. Does that make you more driven and more hungry now to regain that world title? Yeah, absolutely. For the 2 days after that fight, I didn't know that we had the rematch, and I was, you know, devastated, obviously, and knew that it was going to be a huge setback, and really didn't know where I was going to go from there. So then to sit down with Bob and the team at Top Rank and be told that they were going to give me the rematch, that was a huge relief. But I know there's pressure on this fight. A loss this time will set me back a long way, and I don't plan on doing that. Sure.
Hey guys, isn't it crazy? I mean, I sit here and I listen to the Moloney boys, and the more I listen to them, the more I love the guys, because, you know, here's this guy who's just the hardest fight of his life. 2 busted eardrums, broken nose and stuff. A couple of days later, he wants a rematch. Why? Because he believes in himself and he believes that he had a bad day at the office. And I'm very, very confident that he'll correct it in the rematch. And like I said, are you going to do anything different this time, Andrew? I mean, sparring-wise, have you got anybody special in line that might spar similar to him or give you the same kind of work that you think you need? What have you done?
Yeah. I'm going to be sparring. I've got six different guys organised already for over in Vegas. So I've got some great sparring lined up, and they're all very similar to Franco. All have similar characteristics, and I'm going to go in there and give it everything I've got and make sure that I spar well in this lead up. As I mentioned before, I feel like I wasn't sparring well in the last preparation, and I'm just more switched on now. Extremely motivated to correct the mistake I made in the last fight and to right that loss. You
know, Andrew, the one thing I've always told you and your brother and Ange, of course we do our road work and everything else. The most important thing is that you put all your focus into your sparring and being happy when you go home from sparring. Because if you know you're boxing well, that's what we are. We're fighters. We're boxers. So as long as you know that afternoon that you've boxed well, so you've had that amazing preparation that day, just save all that energy for your sparring. Because if you're sparring well, you're going to take that into the fight, mate. And that guy just on your left there, mate, he's he'll give you a few tips. He's had a few fights in his life. Hasn't won any, but he's had a couple of fights. I'll pull there.
You're absolutely right, Jeff. And I think, I don't know why, but I wasn't performing well in the gym in the lead up to the last fight, and it probably had a few doubts in the back of my mind going into that fight. But I already feel like the way I'm sparring in the gym at the moment, that it's given me confidence. I know that was nowhere near my best, and I've improved already since that fight, and I'm confident that I can go in there and do exactly what I need to do to win this fight.
And just one piece of advice, like I'm saying about the sparring. On that day, or the days that you're going to spar, champ, I mean, don't kill yourself in the road run. Don't kill yourself, those couple of hours prior to sparring. Because only by the time you're under the time you're going to train 5-6 hours, mate, just make sure you got all that energy for that spar, because once you walk out and think, wow, I boxed great day, you will take that mindset into the ring. And like I said, it was such a close fight. It was, so it's just going to be those little 1%ers that your brother was talking about earlier, that's going to make the difference between you winning or losing this fight again. So just make sure you got all that energy to perform when you need to perform. And if you do that in the sparring, do that in your fighting, I'm very, very confident you'll be world champion again, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, mate. And yeah, you're right. I think sparring is the most important thing, and we work our training around to make sure we're fresh for that sparring session, and we can do 12 good rounds and perform well in the gym.
That's great.
You mentioned, Andrew, that you want to prove a few people wrong, some people who may have thought that you were overhyped when you went into that fight and were beaten. Anyone specifically who's said anything, or anything that's been said specifically that you think was a bit out of order, or do you just think that there's a general mood from those who watch the fight that maybe you were overrated?
Yeah, no one in particular, just a lot of clowns online, mate. The keyboard warriors, I copped a hammering for a few days after that fight, and I don't really care what those people think anyway. But I just felt that a lot of people maybe saw that performance and thought that maybe that's a level I'm at, and that I'm not good enough. But I'm going in there to prove that they're wrong, and I was world champion for a reason, and I am a world class boxer, and I do perform at the top of this division.
I know Timothy Bradley commentated on the fight. I don't know which version you've watched, whether it was the American or the international feed, but he was at pains to say that what you were doing was very predictable, that you were making the same movement patterns time and time again in front of Franco. Did you take that as a criticism, or do you think that he's right?
Yeah, Bradley mentioned a few things, a few mistakes that I was making, that being one, and also bouncing on the spot. He bring that up numerous times throughout the broadcast, and yeah, I mean, he was a world champion, so I'll take his advice. I'm willing to take anyone's advice to help me improve, and they are things that we are working on correcting in the gym and improving on. So yeah, no, I'll listen to that, and yeah, I took that advice and working to correct it.
What they were also fascinated by in the American commentary and the international commentary was that we call Bodyshots rips to the body, because Angelo was calling for rips, and they just couldn't get past the fact that we call them rips. I didn't even actually know that wasn't an international word until watching those coverages, when they just talked about that constantly.
Yeah, you're right. We actually had the fighter meeting. With Timothy Bradley and Chris Algieri and the rest of the ESPN crew, and that was 2 days before the fight, and they bring it up then as well that a rip is a left hook to the body. And they couldn't believe that we call it rips. And then again, they bring it up in the broadcast. So I was the same, but I didn't realise that that's not what they called it over there.
How have the Top Rank guys been with you since losing your world title? Have they treated you any differently since that fight?
Not at all. I mean, I was a little bit embarrassed going into the office a few days after the fight, and I wasn't sure if they was going to rip my contract up and kick me to the curb, but they did the total opposite. They were really happy with the fight and said it was really entertaining and had great feedback, and gave me the opportunity to have a rematch straight away, which I was just over the moon, and it certainly made coming back home on the plane that a lot, much, much easier.
Yeah.
Andrew, that was a fight, my friend. Every time you and your brother step in the ring, whether it's 3 rounds, 5, 7, 10, you're always performing. And I mean, Top Rank would love that. The boxing world loved it. I loved the fight. I mean, obviously disappointed that you lost, but you'll improve. And like I said, you don't have to really listen to any criticism. Just do what you think you've done. Look, the most important thing that you'll learn is you learn from yourself. When you look at something you think you done, not what I say you done right or wrong, or not what Timothy Bradley says. It's how you feel. If you're feeling good doing something, then it must be right. So just keep working hard, and obviously listen to these little things, and you can try little things, but just be the person you're being. You won the world title being yourself. Just stick with that winning formula, mate. Work hard, and you'll be fine, mate.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, mate.
Your brother's got a big task coming up on November the 1st against Noya and Nui.
Listen, I've got to interrupt you. What I'd like you to do for me on that night is, I don't want to say anything too badly, but listen, you just be dressed in shorts and stuff the same as your brother when that little bastard's not hitting from behind. I think it's both. I think it's fine too.
Tag team, mate.
Tag team, mate. You won't even know the difference.
Take him out
your
early.
brother's got a tough job, mate.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, Jason has a massive task in front of him, but what I can't believe is there's people online, as we spoke about, that are sort of putting him down for taking this fight or for being in this fight and saying, oh, he's going to get knocked out, this and that. Like, why wouldn't you support a fellow Aussie and say, well done, mate, for having the balls to go in there and take on the best in the division and all the best, give it a crack?
That's because they're Aussies, mate. Aussies aren't like that, mate. Anywhere else in the world, your country will support you and they'll take you over there. And, in Australia, it's a little different, mate. If he wins, oh, wow, it's going to be it. We knew he was going to win. No, that guy wasn't that good, But that's what happens, mate. But no, it's going to be fine, mate.
Yeah. No, well, that's right. And, I mean, this is a fight that can change his life instantly. And, these are the sorts of fights that are the reason why we wake up every morning and train our ass off for the last 17 years. This is the moment you want to be involved in. And I've got, great confidence that Jason's going to go out there and shock the world.
Let me just say one thing, mate. Look, for him to take the fight, it's amazing. For him to be in the position to fight the best fighter in the world is amazing. And listen, to be the best in the world, you've got to fight and defeat the best in the world. And he's got an opportunity, and that's what you want in boxing. I mean, a lot of these guys are scared and frightened, and I remember when I was fighting and they were talking about Barry McGuigan wouldn't fight Azuma Nelson because, like I said, mate, for me, whoever they said I was going to fight, just if you think of, I don't even want to talk about myself, let's forget about me, but anyway, your brother's got an amazing opportunity. He's going to fight who I believe is the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. I think he's the best fighter in the world. And if he beats him, wow, it's going to be it will be, I honestly think it will be the greatest Australian boxing achievement ever. That's my opinion. I don't care. That's what I say. Yeah, and I believe that he can do it.
Awesome, Jeff. And I've heard you talk about Inui in the past, and you've got huge raps on him, and so do we. We're fans of the sport, and we realise that he is a special talent, but so is Jason, and he's got the opportunity to shock the world and win this fight and become a superstar.
Jason, I'll never forget that. My first fight against Azuma Nelson, I had no problem. I thought I was going to beat him easily. I've never made excuses, but he went home, worked his ass off, came back and beat me. There have been a lot of people. Nobody thought that Buster Douglas could beat Mike Tyson. No, the list goes on and on. There's boxing. That's why boxing's so great. There's been so many upsets and so many times where somebody might take it a little easier or have a little bit of an off day like you did, and we get beaten. And I'm just hoping that everything falls into place for your brother and you both become world champions again, because you guys are what's great for Australian boxing. We need guys like you in Australian boxing. We don't have these guys who want to scream and yell and say you're the best fighters in the world. Well, that might sell tickets and stuff, but to me that doesn't mean you can fight. and you guys can fight. You've proven that.
Thanks, Jeff. And it's going to be pretty special if we can come home at the end of November and have 2 world champions in Australia and both be from the same family. It's
it would be amazing.
That's a dream of ours for a long time, and I just really hope we can make it happen.
You've been through the journey, obviously, with Jason throughout. He's wanted this fight for a very, very long time. When's the first time you can remember him saying, I would like to fight Nui?
I think for when it first became sort of a real big thing on Jason's checklist is when we were over at we were in Moscow for the gala for the World Boxing Super Series, and I remember Jason getting a photo with Nui, and Jason is so much bigger than him. And I remember straight away then he goes, this guy's tiny. He goes, I would love to fight him. And since then, it's been something that he spoke about a lot, wanting to fight Nui, and we've watched his fights, obviously, being fans of the sport, and he's always believed that he'd beat Nui, and this is his chance to show that he can beat him and become one of the best fighters in the world.
But was it true what he said, that he used to bash you up all the time?
Nah, that's not true at all.
Good, that's not what I hear. Keep going. Tell me what you used to do to him, mate.
I'm going to get our high school to release the video camera footage of when I gave him a pound, and in year 10, I think it was.
He'll come in from off camera in a second.
How important is the team, and what does each individual member of your team sort of bring to the table?
Oh, we've got the best team in the world. We moved up here to Kingscliff 3.5 years ago and surrounded ourselves with what I think is the best team in the world. And we were willing to move anywhere in the world for our career. And this is where we chose to come. And with Angelo Hyder and Tony Nobbs as our trainers, and Tony Told as our manager, we've got a great team. And obviously Top Rank as our promotional company. We're in a great position, and that team has given us the opportunity that we wanted to become the best version of ourselves. And these fights coming up are our opportunity to
Andrew,
do what we've been
being
doing.
being happy and having happy teams, really, really important. Man, the guy who is your trainer, Angelo Hyder, the funniest guy in the world, how good is he? What a great guy, huh?
He is. He's a great guy to be around, and his energy just rubs off on us all in the gym. And you're right, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter, and we're loving what we're doing every day in the gym, and we're improving every day. So couldn't ask for a better team.
It was Angelo who made me love boxing a lot also, because when I first got involved and started doing promotions, Angelo and I worked together, and his beautiful wife and family, and he's pretty special. And the great thing with Angelo is that he'll always look after you guys. So you're in very, very safe hands with somebody who's been around for a long time, and he's seen a lot of things happen in the sport, and he's put me through hell a few times, having to stick up for him while we're overseas, having some fights with him. I don't know if he's ever told you the stories, Andrew, but he's put me in a couple of sticky positions, once in the toilet with a couple of guys that are about 6'6" and about 250 pounds. But I looked after him, mate. I got him out of there.
I've heard a few stories, but I haven't heard that one.
You'll have to ask him. Yeah, you'll have to ask him. Yeah.
Andrew, the expectation is that your fight will come up 2 weeks after Jason's, and potentially you'll headline, or there's the chance that Terence Crawford will, maybe against Kell Brook. Do you have a preference as to whether you're the main event or not?
No preference. I'm just wrapped that I've get the opportunity to get my revenge and
good on you, champ,
to get my world title back. I don't care what card it's on, as long as it happens, and me and Franco get in that ring, I'm a happy man.
Well, COVID's been pretty terrible for most Australian boxers, but you guys have had an incredible COVID. You've been quite active fighting in the US. Obviously, Top Rank has been putting on these shows, so you guys have had a pretty successful.
Yeah, we've been extremely lucky that we were signed to Top Rank, and they were one of the first companies to get boxing back up and running. And while most fighters have struggled to get a fight in this year, we've had 2 really great fights on a huge audience watching, and really been able to introduce ourselves to the fight fans over in America and around the world. And there have been massive opportunities for us, and Top Rank giving us both the opportunity to headline our own show last time out was a huge opportunity. And unfortunately, I didn't make the most of it that time, but I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to do it again and to get revenge and to show what I'm really all about.
I think we'll probably wrap up pretty soon, Andrew, but give us your prediction, mate. What happens the second time around with you against Franco, and how does this fight finish?
What I keep envisioning in my head is I'm going to stop Franco. And I believe that's what's going to happen. I believe I'm going to knock him out and become world champion once again.
Well, we really hope you do, mate. We'll all be watching. We'll all be supporting as always. Congratulations to you and your brother for getting back over there again. We can't wait to see, mate. We'll all be supporting you.
Yeah, definitely so, Andrew, and to your brother, Jace. Just stay focused. Listen to Ange. Like I said to your brother earlier, make sure you focus on that sparring sessions being your most important sessions of the day. Those days that you're going to spar, don't go out and torture yourself. Just have that energy for them, because when you get out of that ring feeling that you sparred great, you'll end up fighting great, and I'm sure you guys know that. But I just want to say on behalf of me, would be delighted for you guys to come back as world champions, and your brother, if, like I said, if he defeats the monster, oh wow, it would be maybe the greatest Australian boxing feat of all time.
Unreal, Jeff. Now, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate your support, and thanks for having us on the show.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Don't forget to subscribe. Standing 8, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.